Okay, all is well. I want to tell you my journey on this all is well path. Because at first it can seem like a naive platitude. Is everything really well or not? I'll tell you something too, when we greet each other with those phrases, I know the affirmations are important for us to speak, but it's really beautiful and powerful to hear it come from other people. Because my subconscious, your subconscious just hears the okay, all is well, that's what I'm hearing. I think it's a powerful thing as well. Okay, so, did God create a perfect world? I got asked that question once, just last year. And it can be, depending on who's asking, it can be a bit of a loaded question, almost like a challenge. And I didn't speak for a while. I had to think about it. And then I said, if we're in a learning environment, if this life is for us to learn lessons, and this is a learning environment, then I'd say it is perfect, because I am learning lessons. I'm encountering challenges. I don't always successfully meet those challenges, but then next time I learn, and I'm learning things that I couldn't have learned. So that was my answer at that time. More recently, I was discussing the meaning of life. I know it's a big topic, but all is well is kind of connected to the meaning of life. So I was talking to a friend who's not well, and the conversation came around to people with different types of cancers, young children, everything. And we got onto the subject about the meaning of life. And this is what I said. I posted this online, but I'm going to read it to you. So this is what I said to him. The only thing left for what we call God to experience is what it feels like to not be omniscient, to not know everything. So I'll say that again. This is my perspective. The only thing left for what we call God to experience is what it feels like to not be omniscient, to not know everything. That's the only thing left. I believe we have fractal aspects of God which have fallen into this material experience of forgetfulness in order to facilitate this exact experiential objective of apparent separation. That's why this life is described as a learning experience. And then in a moment of inspiration while we're talking, I had this come to me. I said, you know how a director sits in a movie theatre and watches their own movie with an audience? And it was like, yeah, that's a test screening. I want to find out what the audience thinks about the movie. I said, the director already knows every aspect of the movie, but is still fascinated to vicariously experience the creation with an audience who's experiencing the film as a new, unknown experience. And my friend was like, oh wow, that's insightful. The director's God, isn't it? And I said, yes, it is. And we're the moviegoers experiencing it and unfolding. And the director might put scary things in the movie. You might think, why did you put that in the film? Well, it was entertaining. I had a good time and learned some amazing things from it. Otherwise, the film or that life journey might have been incredibly boring. So I'm going to move on to the meaning of life, Unity's perspective on the meaning of life. And as I always say, this isn't something you have to adopt. I'm just explaining what the perspective is from a Unity perspective, but it's very largely aligns with my own thinking. So from a Unity perspective, the meaning of life is to recognise and express our inherent divinity and to consciously create a fulfilling, loving and prosperous life. We focus on waking up to the Christ consciousness within each of us, as demonstrated by Jesus, rather than just waiting for an afterlife. Inspirational teachings from Unity. The Fillmores were deeply influenced by transcendentalism, especially Ralph Waldo Emerson, and studied under prominent New Thought teachers like Emma Curtis Hopkins. So transcendentalism is a 19th century American philosophy and literary movement that emphasises the inherent goodness of people and nature. So you can see where that thread's come from into Unity. Its core precepts centre on the belief that individuals can transcend the physical world to reach a deeper spiritual reality through intuition rather than through objective or religious dogma. So I like that. I've been on, even prior to coming to Unity, I've been on a Gnostic Christian path, and this is very much aligned. When I was reading this, because I was doing some research for the talk, I could see the threads that led to Unity, and I could see my journey, why I ended up here. So Ralph Waldo Emerson In Ralph Waldo Emerson's most famous essay, Self-Reliance, from 1841, Emerson argues that individuals should trust their own intuition and inner voice rather than conforming to societal or religious expectations. So you can see why this would be quite controversial for the, the main church, the mainstream church, the Bible Belt, etc. Charles Fillmore that is, described Emerson as the greatest spiritual teacher America ever had. So this is how important this thread is into our Unity sanctuary here, and frequently quoted him in early Unity publications. Unity teachings emphasise Christ within and the creative power of thought. Those perspectives directly echo Emerson's ideas on oversoul and the divinity of the individual. Unity views the Bible as a metaphysical representation of the soul's evolutionary journey towards awakening rather than a literal history. So Unity is not necessarily viewing the Bible as an historic record, but more as a metaphysical representation of our journey through this life. So journeying through the school of life is my next heading. In Unity, life lessons are viewed as opportunities for soul growth and the evolution of consciousness. Instead of seeing challenges as punishments, Unity teaches that we are purposefully experiences designed to help individuals awaken to their own divine nature. Okay, I'll read that again. In Unity, the lessons are viewed as opportunities for soul growth and the evolution of consciousness. Instead of seeing challenges as punishment, Unity teaches that they are purposeful experiences designed to help individuals awaken to their own divine nature. Wow. So that's kind of where I started. So you can see where I'm heading with this all is well. Like, is it well? I mean, on the surface you might say, Stuart, you don't know my life, you don't know what I'm going through. Have you seen what's happening in the news, what's happening in this country, what's going on there? I get that perspective. But in the back of my mind, I actually believe all is well. And it's not to negate or diminish those occurrences that are happening in life, but they're choices that we're making, different people are making. And I'm not saying I've chosen for a war to break out, but we've got free choice here in this reality, together. So life as a soul classroom. We've got purposeful experiences. Life is not random. It's a classroom for the soul. Every circumstance offers an opportunity to either expand our spiritual energy through love or contract it through fear. Yeah. Now what's that book I'm trying to think of that reminded me of? Course in Miracles. You probably read that. So I'll read that one again. Life is not random. It is a classroom for the soul. Every circumstance offers an opportunity to either expand your spiritual energy through love or contract it through fear. Spiritual evolution. Human beings are considered spiritual entities on a human journey. You've probably heard that many times. The soul is in a constant state of change and progression, and challenges act as a catalyst for this inevitable evolution towards Christ consciousness. I'll read that one again too. It's powerful stuff. Human beings are considered spiritual entities. So that's where we've come from. That's what we are. On a human journey. The soul is in a constant state of change and progression, and challenges act as catalysts for this inevitable evolution towards Christ consciousness. Now that brings me to the power of choice, and I really thought about this, about do we have free will or not, which is another whole discussion, which I'm really sort of dealing with at the moment, because one of my resolutions for 2026 was to not immediately get drawn into conflicts, and I mean macro and micro. So I can feel an injustice. I'm not telling anyone what to do, I'm just telling you my journey. I could feel a slight or an injustice towards me, and I might want to react on the spot. I end up saying stupid things, I'm sure you heard before. And you think, you know what, that wasn't actually important, but at the moment I felt a real lot of emotion about it. If I just took a minute, I'm going to do that more this year. So the power of choice is lessons are often learnt through the law of mind action. which states that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Adverse conditions are seen as a result of misusing divine laws or focusing on appearance of lack rather than the truth of abundance. Wow. Yeah, so the thing I was talking about before is I did do that a little bit, especially in my work. I had some things happen which weren't a big deal, not even worth talking about, but at the time I reacted poorly. And I sort of, well, I'm reflecting on that, see, which is actually absolutely to the point of what we're talking about here. So I made some, not awful choices, but I just wasn't my best self, so to speak. But I learnt through that. Okay, practical tools for learning lessons. Unity emphasises practical Christianity, where spiritual principles must be applied to daily living to be valuable. Reframing adversity. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We're encouraged to ask, what in me is blocking my good? Or what lesson is here for me to learn? Oh, wow. So I've got to take responsibility now, do I? Yeah, I'm not comfortable with this, but I'm doing it. I want to read that one again. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We're encouraged to ask, what in me is blocking my good? What lesson is here for me to learn? Affirmative prayer and denials. These are tools used to navigate life lessons. Denials involve releasing negative beliefs or error thought, while affirmations involve claiming spiritual truths such as, I am strong enough for the challenge before me. The power of letting go. A key lesson in unity is the power of letting go. Willingly releasing old limiting thoughts to make room for new, expansive spiritual insights. You know, this road's a tough one, you know. We have to take action. We have to make choices. We're not outsourcing this. And I find this challenging. I've got to tell you, I'm going to read that again. A key lesson in unity is the power of letting go. Willingly releasing old limiting thoughts to make room for new, expansive spiritual insights. Now, this is interesting too. The view on failure and progress. Progress over perfection. Unity emphasises that life is about progress, not perfection. Forgetting or failing to apply principles is seen as part of the human experience, and self-compassion is considered essential for moving forward. Okay, that's what I was talking about earlier. So I made some choices which weren't, the best, and I can beat myself up about that, and I can feel embarrassed and ashamed, but I'm determined to learn the lesson. So I'll read that one again too. Unity emphasises that life is about progress, not perfection. Forgetting or failing to apply principles is seen as part of the human experience, and self-compassion, that's a huge one, is considered essential for moving forward. So service as a lesson. A significant part of one's spiritual development involves sacred service, giving of oneself to others, which is believed to open the giver to receiving more abundance and joy. Beautiful. So you're spreading the energy around, paying it forward so it comes back to you. Okay, I've got a couple of slides. Surprise, surprise, I've got a Jung quote. I read this one a long time ago, and this quote came to my head when I was working on this talk. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Once again, it's about taking responsibility. Yeah, okay. I might think that person was really nasty to me. They shouldn't have been like that. But even with someone I had that happen with last year, I've sort of come around in my thinking. Because we've spoken. We actually talked. That's the key, isn't it? You can hold on. We actually spoke, and not in an angry way. Like, well, why did you do that? Why did that happen? Oh, that's because I was going through this. And then I felt compassion. I shifted my consciousness from being irritated about them to being, I'm on board, I'm supportive now. It's crazy, isn't it? Just to have that discussion. So everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. I've lived that. I'm still living that.
Stuart, could I add something about that?
Yeah, please.
One thing that I'm struggling with right now is, for many years, is I I feel like I have a lot of impatience for people who don't think horrific things can happen, or who don't see existential threats like I do. Like when the pandemic came, I was absolutely not surprised. And when everybody was surprised, I'm like, y'all stupid. Like, these pathogens have been brewing for such a long time, like Ebola in 2015, SARS in 2003. Like, we've been lucky so long, and now you're surprised when this is happening. Like, yeah, I just have little patience for people who don't think horrific wars can happen, even in the developed world, or like authoritarianism. And that, I mean, it's like I just don't know what that means about myself.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. Right
no,
now.
I've been on that journey too. Okay, I was trying to address that, so I'm going to be 100% honest with you as normal. I can start feeling like I'm really evolved. I've learned so many spiritual lessons, I've been on this path so long, I've read all these sacred texts. Why are these people that I encounter, why do they know nothing? Aren't they interested? Don't they care? And then I'll meet someone with such a simple, beautiful faith, and I think, I don't know anything, Stuart. And it just dissolves that for me, and I can see things from another perspective. But also the other thing you're raising, I've been contemplating too. Like, I can get drawn into world events, you know. And there's kind of like a maelstrom that happens. Everyone starts talking about it. A certain political leader, and I was at a point late last year. I was like, I don't need to hear this anymore. It doesn't mean I'm going to 100% switch off, but I'm not going to seek it out. It doesn't mean I don't care about the issues. But it's become like an affirmation. I'm not going to mention any film in particular, but you know, you hear this about this person, that about that person, over and over again. Yeah, but I'll talk to you about that afterwards, definitely. Thank you. So I've got also a quote from Rumi. This is amazing. This place is a dream. Only a sleeper considers it real. Then death comes like dawn, and you wake up laughing at what you thought was your grief. That's crazy, isn't it? So I want to tell you briefly about who Rumi is. Rumi was a 13th century Persian poet, an Islamic scholar, a jurist and a Sufi mystic. Rumi quotes often focus on love, spiritual longing, inner wisdom and unity, arguing people to look within, embrace pain as a messenger and find the divine in everyday experience, with famous lines like, you've probably heard some of these, "You're not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop." And out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field, I'll meet you there. How gorgeous is that? I want to read that one again. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, so duality, there's a field, presumably of unity, I'll meet you there. His poetry encourages transcending worldly limits, listening to the heart, and recognising that what you seek is seeking you. So much wisdom from that man. So to summarise, I've got this picture which some of you might recognise. It's from a very famous album. So this image is sometimes used esoterically to depict the light of God coming through refraction, distortion, you might say, and splitting into multiple diverse parts. It's a very beautiful image and highly apropos for today. So if you work your way back, everything comes back to unity again. It comes back to divine light. And there's a purpose, see, because there's something beautiful being created, even though we're focusing on our differences and ideological problems. Something beautiful is occurring here that we have learned, that God has experienced, had we not gone through this. So thank you so much. I'll conclude my talk there. I've got a song, which some of you will know, I think. It's called Don't Worry, Be Happy.